Hello, everyone out in the Good Life universe. What is up? My name is Steve Welty, and welcome to the Good Life Property Management Podcast, where we're here to help you build a bigger future. And today, I never thought I'd have this guy in my office, and I'm super excited. And there's like a culture shift dynamic that's happening. We got the Texas guy out in California, just finished a hot yoga class, and Brad's feeling really good. And, his mind's open, so we're going to dive deep into some of, Brad's Mr. Red Meat, I call him. He's the man of the people. He's the people's property manager. Give a big round of applause for Brad Larsen.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, Brad? How are you, man?
Pretty good. Got a big round of applause from all the people in the studio here. And it was
yeah, and Olivia. Hey, Olivia's here. She's off screen. But, I appreciate you coming on. I have a bunch of questions. How we're going to do this is I want to break this into two segments. I want to do the first segment on the Good Life podcast, and then we just launched the Tribe podcast, which I want to do segment 2 on. So we'll link that down in the show notes. But first off, Brad, most people know you, but tell us a little bit about, where you're coming from and also what's going on now in your world. Like, what's firing you up right now?
So, Brad Larsen, coming out of San Antonio and Austin. I own and run Werx Property Management. So we're currently right at 875 plus or minus single family homes. That's been our focus mostly is building that business. But in addition, I've been starting to build the property management mastermind. That's got a really good Facebook following. We've launched into offering a few services and products. And then our biggest thing that's getting me fired up now is we're developing a conference for 2020. Yeah. So that's up and coming, and we can talk through that.
Yeah, let's talk about that right now. I definitely want to hit that. We were talking before the show a little bit about it. Give us a little overview of what this conference is.
So the conference is a property management mastermind focus. It's all going to get into the small group scenarios. That's going to be a really good experience for the property managers to get the red meat of the industry. Other conferences out there are doing their thing, but we want to focus on getting actionable items, which is a key phrase, right? It's almost cliche, but putting that in front of the property management company owners and property management attendees that want to go to this. Probably looking at a 250-person conference. It's going to be a lot of red meat, a lot of small group environment as we talk with the mastermind, which is why you and I are talking, right? Because your tribe mastermind fits right into that concept. Because I think that's where the most learning happens.
Right.
Is getting into those small groups and hearing what other people are talking about, hearing what they're doing, sharing your beliefs and ideas, and then learning from others. Because this business there's so many different ways to do it in every market.
Right.
It's not like I can create a formula or a book and say, here, go do this in your market. It doesn't work like that, which offers us insulation from bigger disruptors coming in and saying, like the Ubers.
Yeah.
We're totally insulated from something like that to come in because we're so local, hyper focused.
Right.
And it's got to be down to the management company. It's got to be down to that market and how they run things there. The mastermind creating that helps people to develop their own particular niche in their market.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. We'll definitely keep the listeners posted on new developments with that. And we'll talk a little bit about that later in the show. But I wanted to dive into some of these red meat questions. When I knew I was going to interview Brad, it's been a while since I did it. I'm like, man, I got a bunch of questions for Brad. So first question I have is, you've scaled your business pretty well. Like, what are some of the keys? A lot of people want to scale, but what do you see getting in the way of most people trying to scale? And how have you been able to scale successfully?
Scaling is an ever-changing battle. And so we started the business roughly in 2012. We scaled up to close to 900 homes, like I said, 875, wherever we are today. That's been happening in the last 7 years. And so scaling has been a trial and error screw-up process.
Right.
I've screwed up more than I've won, it seems like. And it's constantly changing. And the thing that people have to understand is if you start talking about organizational structure, there is no one way to do things. We've changed several times, 3 or 4 different times, from departmental to hybrid to portfolio back to more traditional departmental. So it's a constant challenge of changing the way you scale. Because unlike an apartment complex, if I threw you, hey, Steve, go manage a 500-unit apartment complex over there, it's going to be 500 units till the end of time. You could say, yeah, I can do that. I can make my occupancy rate good. I can figure out good ways to retain tenants. I can do that. But for us, it's like we're constantly shifting. And the things that you and I are having challenges with, I mean, this is probably everybody nationwide, is churn.
Right.
I mean, churn is a big thing. So I'm out here in San Diego giving a presentation, which is basically self-help for me.
Yeah.
It's called Retention Equals Growth.
Mm-hmm.
And that presentation is all about us trying to plug the holes in the bucket to stop leakage,
Right.
to get our churn down from a figure you hate to a figure you'd like to be at.
Right.
And that might be cutting in half.
Right. So churn's a big part of that. And I love how you said the self-help aspect of that, because just the couple presentations I've given in my life, I've realized the value as the presenter and actually going through, like when I gave the talk at sales and marketing, it was really introspective. You got to take a step back and really look at your systems and what you're doing well. And so it helps shine a light on that.
Yeah, if you ever want to become a subject matter expert on something,
Right.
commit to teaching it.
Right, exactly.
Because you don't want to stand up there in front of people and try to teach something on brain surgery,
Right.
and you've never operated on anybody.
Exactly.
You know, all of a sudden you're going to become pretty good at it.
Right, right. So learning through teaching, for sure. So what's something really impactful, maybe the last 12 months, Brad, that you've implemented that you want our listeners to know about?
Well, one thing I'm really high on right now is BombBomb, using video.
Right.
And I know you know me. I know you. I've been a video fan since day one.
Right.
I was one of the first to start using YouTube to do virtual walkthroughs.
Yeah.
Instead of the virtual tours where it's a still picture.
Mm-hmm.
Remember those days? Yeah. And the still picture would move, and people called it, virtual tour.
Right.
Well, I started doing YouTube videos from the day one YouTube came out. I mean, I was telling my broker about it, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool," and then it went back to their old ways. But we've implemented BombBomb, and part of our presentation today is talking through just a tidbit of like 14 points of how we're using it. And that's been tremendous because I think, now this has been around. I got to give credit to Todd Breen. I got to give credit to Scott Brady and Robert Gilstrap to convince me.
Mm-hmm.
Those three really convinced me to start using this. I think that's been a game changer because of the humanization of communication.
Yeah.
Meaning that instead of just sending you an email, a cold email, hey, I need you to send me $500 to make this repair, you get on there in a video and say, hey, Steve, this is me. I'm the property manager. We had this happen at your house. I need $500. I'm really sorry to dump this on you right now, but can you authorize me to pull this right away?
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the camera, the humanization level comes through, and you become more endearing. And you can break news a lot easier, bad news especially, if you can do it on video.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, this is nothing new, but we've implemented it just recently, and I wish we would have done it years ago.
Totally.
Because I think part of our churn, making an actual point circling back, is part of the churn is not having that humanization factor.
Yeah.
People coldly leave us or want to leave us because they don't care who the property manager is because they've never met him.
Right.
But if they see him every time on a communication video, like, well, I really like insert name. I really like her or him.
Right.
I don't really want to leave them because I know them, I trust them, I like them. Yeah, they screwed up this one time, but I can forgive that because I know them, I trust them, I like them because I've seen them on video 100 times.
Right, exactly. And I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg with that because I've been fired up about that too, but I just wrote down repair explanation, great one-to-one video use. We're testing it. Olivia's working on this now with some handoff stuff like they talk about in Joey Coleman's book, like, hey, I'm the leasing manager, we got your place rented, here's Natalia, we're in the same room, she's going to be taking care of you now. Asking for reviews could be another great way, so there's just so many ways to use that I'm super fired up about. So that's super cool. So what's, how do you recommend, I want to talk about team and vendors. Like, I know you do a lot of cool stuff, a lot of fun stuff at your office. Like, how do you recognize and keep your team happy? Team happy, 10 owners happy. Anything special you're doing that can recognize the team or keep them motivated and fired up?
There's a lot of team participation you want to get into. That whole conversation could go on for months.
Right.
Because there's a lot of things you can do. There's lots of good idea fairy stuff, but you have to find the balance. You have to find the balance in your own office. Like, you guys do Tai Chi or whatever the hell y'all do here, and eat koi, or I don't know what you guys do in California. You park at the moon, whatever y'all do.
Park at the moon.
Okay, that's your environment. I hate that word culture. I hate the word culture.
Hey, I didn't say it. You said it.
I hate that word. I like environment. So your environment has to fit to your environment.
Right.
So for our environment, a couple things we did, stealing one of your ideas, let's talk through that.
Okay.
Is remember the Shark Tank thing?
Right.
Okay, so I'm just going to hone in on that one idea, just to elaborate on that one idea, because there's lots of things. You got monthly parties.
Mm-hmm.
You can do mixer events. You can pay for Google reviews or Yelp reviews. You can incentivize your team for those. I mean, lots of good idea stuff there. So back to the Shark Tank, what we did is we assigned every person in our office, we put them into a group. And one was for business development, one was for maintenance, one was for owner retention and new owners, and there's like 4 or 5 different sections that we had. And the point of that was to give them all an assignment to come up with 3 killer ideas on what they would do to improve the customer experience. Okay, and we presented it Shark Tank style.
Yeah.
So the head of that 3 or 4 person group got up in front of everybody at our weekly meeting and said, this is what we're going to do. These 3 things we think are going to work. 1, 2, and 3. And some of the ideas were lame. Some of them were golden.
Yeah.
Like a great one that came out that we just smacked our head on is military discount for owners.
Right.
We're in Military City, USA, but
Right.
we were never offering a military discount.
Right.
And so we started doing that because people, 1, were asking for it. And 2, I think it's a good thing. I'm prior military. You're in a big military presence here in San Diego.
Right.
And so we implemented that because it came out of the ideas from the team talking to owners every day. Now, you can't really do it for tenants because of the fair housing laws, but you can do it for owners. And so if they're active duty military or retired or prior, then we would give them a small little discount on their management fees.
Right. So yeah, the team wants to be part of the journey of making the company better if they believe in the mission.
A lot of good ideas came out of that, and it brought in the participation. So they all came in, they pitched their ideas as a group. Some of them had big placards that they drew up, and it was a big show.
Yeah.
And then, I decided on it, and the winners were incentivized. The winners earned cash. The first, second, and third earned cash prizes.
Oh, there you go.
So they had incentives to come up with good ideas, and it was just a really good presentation how it all worked together. And we implemented 3 or 4 of those good ideas like right away.
Olivia likes that idea.
Cash incentives, right? Cash incentives.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So another thing on the incentive, not to steal your show here, but
no, go for it.
The incentives I'm going to talk about today, incentivizing your team, you almost want to give them the choice. Okay, so what I've sort of learned, and maybe it's different for your environment, is you have a choice of a weekend away at a fancy TPC resort or $500 in cash. And the cash incentive might be more important to somebody versus making them get a babysitter, a dog sitter, making them drive somewhere, making them leave their home of comfort. Maybe they don't want to go to a weekend vacation.
Right.
You're thinking it's a really cool experience, right, in your head or my head.
Right.
But if you give them the alternative, would you rather take a cash incentive or go on a hot air balloon ride?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Versus, it's different for each person.
It's different for each person. So I would give them the alternative. And I think that's a fair assessment to do because I have some that want cash.
Yeah, I like that. Olivia, cash or vacation?
Depends on where the vacation is.
Depends on where the vacation is. There you go. All right. Well, so for the people that aren't going to be at SD NARPM today to hear your churn talk, and I know you might be giving it later on at another conference.
I'm actually giving it at the NARPM National Conference in October.
Okay, NARPM National. So we don't want to give away all the red meat, but do you have churn? You see, my number one goal is reduce churn to 10%. Any thoughts on that for our listeners? Like, what are you doing to combat that? What have you learned?
This is a long conversation too because the churn kills everybody in a hot sales market. When people are wanting to sell, you can't really talk them out of it. You know what I mean? One of the things you can do is try to sell those to investors to keep those in your inventory. You got pre-listings and pocket listings. You can develop those programs in your own system to say, okay, Mr. Owner, you want to sell? Let me do a pre-listing. Let me package this up. I'm going to sell it to one of our investors if possible. So there'll be no headache for you. Some will just say, heck with it. You don't have that option. Like here in San Diego, for example, you may not ever sell to investors because no one's going to come in and pay $1 million for a home and then rent it out for $2,500 a month. Or whatever the math is. The math is skewed in certain markets. But for our market, 250 or less, 150 to 300, somewhere in there, that would be a great home to keep in our inventory. So one of the things we want to do is make sure if they want to sell, that goes to an investor that we manage. Okay, so there's a lot easier said than done. Trust me. The other thing is making sure you're taking care of the owners, you're endearing them to your property managers. A lot going into that. We track good, bad, neutral. We were talking about that pre-show. Good churn, neutral churn, bad churn. The bad churn is obviously, people saying, we're sick of you, or vice versa, and you just fire each other. The good churn is you sell it. Are you retaining the good churn? Are you doing the sales, or is that going off to somewhere else that you get nothing from? That's not a bad thing to lose that.
What if
churn.
someone's with you like 4 years and they just take the property back because they moved back in? Is that bad churn?
We call it neutral churn.
Neutral, right?
Because if we left on good terms,
Right.
then they might come back to us.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some neutral churns to where they market the home for 60 days and their orders change.
Yeah.
Or they decide not to rent it.
Mm-hmm.
Or they move in their brother-in-law, because the brother-in-law needs a place for 6 months. And so they, air quote, fire us, but we want them to come back to us. So we want to make sure we leave that on good terms, even if you charge a cancellation fee. So there's one thing we do is we charge a cancellation fee of 3 X's. Insert your own figure.
Right.
If they come back to us, we'll credit back those 3 X's to them. That way, we leave it on good terms. Say, look, we're going to charge you a cancellation fee just to cover our MLS fees and everything else, all the effort we put into it.
Right.
But come back to us, we'll credit that back to you, and we'll just start from scratch and get you going.
Mm-hmm.
And so we leave it on good terms. So those neutral, you want to potentially turn into management agreements later on.
Yeah.
Cutting it in half we have the same aligned goal.
Right.
Is our churn's about as bad as your churn.
Mm-hmm.
We want to all cut that in half because this presentation I'm giving today and at the presentation for the NARPM national event is retention equals growth.
Yeah.
And so we're going through all the different ways that this can be, you can retain business from owners, tenants, vendors, employees, all those different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, a big one that I always honk is the letter of the heart. Now, may not be for everyone, but let me give you an example. Is my neighbor across the street. I know him casually. He sends us like a holiday card with what's going on with his family, and I put it on my fridge. It's like I'm endeared to the guy. So I try to do the same concept with the company where I'll give him some personal stuff that's going on in my life, personal stuff with what's going on in the company. In the personal life of the people in the company, and then maybe just a little bit on the market and where I think if we're at, and then a thank you. Mm-hmm. And so it's funny, every time I send one of those by direct mail, I always get responses back, I loved it, and then I tend to always get, all of a sudden we get these new listings and these new, things happening. So anything you can endear, you can get the customers to be more endeared to you, I think.
We've done that, and here's a good example.
Nice.
So we make the portfolio managers, property managers, we have 6 of them.
Yeah.
We have anniversary dates for the sign up of that property for that manager, that home, excuse me. So the homeowner signs up, here in May, then in May of 2020, they're going to get a handwritten thank you card from the property manager that says, thank you for your business, we appreciate you, love you, goodbye, whatever you're going to say. But it's got to be a handwritten thank you card. Now we make that part of the CRM, the customer resource management platform.
Right.
So it's not like you have to, go out of tune or out of whack to try and remember that. Just put it into your system, create a reminder in Outlook or Gmail, and then that pops up every year that you write a handwritten note. What are you doing, 5 a week?
What do you think, handwritten note or bomb?
Why not both?
Yeah.
I mean,
at the 2 year, 1 year, 2 year.
Why not both?
Right.
I mean, any excuse you could to send a video only endears them more to you.
Right.
Even if you're, hey, Mr. Owner, it's me, the property manager from Werx. We just sent you a thank you card, thanking you for your 1 year anniversary, your 10 year anniversary, whatever it could be. That's a bomb in itself. Say, hey, we just sent it out.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Then you get both.
Right.
And they see the video,
right.
They look at the card, like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Giftology is a new one, too.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about this.
Have you read that book?
Totally read it, loved it.
Worth it?
We're doing this right now where we're creating customized cutting boards, right? They're glass, and we're putting their last name on the cutting board.
I love that.
And it's only $18-20 to do this. One of the giftology methods was to send out Cutco knives.
Right.
But those are pricey.
Yeah.
They're looking at $100, $150 a knife, potentially $75 on a good day. So we're doing the cutting boards. They're running $20, but they're going to be customized with that owner's last name on it. So nothing about Werx, none of that junk. Giftology shows you that in that book, is just put their last name on it so the family can use it, right? And so we're doing this for our top 15-20% of our customers.
Yeah, I love that. And people that have been with you a long time. Olivia and I were talking, we got to recognize clients that we've been open since 2013. There's a lot of clients that are still with us, right? And so that's important. So especially for those types of people, start at the top.
So you go to each
20.
portfolio manager and say, give me your top 50 clients or your top 25.
Right.
And you got to start with the multiple property owners. Okay, folks that have multiple properties with you. Start with anybody that's ever referred you business.
Right.
The MROs, the multiple referral offers, and then go down to like the big plans, like somebody who has for you guys a $10,000 rental home or something.
Right.
Then you make sure you send them a gift.
Right.
So you can't afford to send one to everybody necessarily, but the folks that are good, and then your team or your portfolio managers, property managers, they can identify the key clients that you want to take care of.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love that idea. Reviews. I want to talk about reviews. It seems like it's a never-ending struggle. It seems like it's always like, what's the game of the week? Do you do a game every month? Do you do a game every quarter? Do you just tell the team how important it is and say, hey, part of the position working here is like that you're going to get reviews, And so I know that you've probably had a lot of experience with it. Where's it at with you? What's working, what's not? Any special ideas that have been working well?
Well, I mean, I got to be careful saying anything about reviews because you just never know what could or could not backfire.
Right.
These review sources. So
Totally.
What historically I've seen people do is they offer tips to their staff members if they can bring in a Yelp or Google or whatever review.
Right.
Personally, I hate Yelp. That's a whole nother tangent. But Google reviews are fairly solid. So what you would do is you incentivize your team, hey, go get us a 5-star review, and I'll pay you, Mr. Team Member.
Right.
As long as they drop your name, I would pay you a little incentive.
Right.
Okay.
And it's a real review.
It's a real review.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go to their owners, their tenants, their clients, their customers, their vendors. They do their job and say, hey, Mr. Vendor, if you like what we're doing for you here at Good Life, can you leave us a 5-star review and then drop my name?
Right.
And so when they do that, you incentivize that person with a cash incentive and you pay them at your weekly meetings.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that a lot of folks do. It's not out of bounds as far as the Google guidelines.
Right.
Because you can't incentivize the reviewer.
Right.
That's what you cannot do.
Right.
But you can say to your staff, go get me a review, get your name dropped, and pay you.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, something we're trying now, so I can't say it works, but I think people want to be taken somewhere, right? Whether it's your team or your clients, they want to believe in a character or journey or have a mission. So my mission is to become the highest rated property manager in the country. And so can you help us achieve that mission by leaving us a review if you've enjoyed the service, So I don't know.
Great approach. And I want to tell you more too.
Yeah.
On the negative reviews.
Yeah.
All right. Now I've come full circle on this. I've been the guy that's responded like a jerk to reviews, and I've lost business. Owners look at my snarky, mean response on Yelp or Google, and they say, I don't want to work with them. So what we've done is we've completely neutralized it. So my goal with Google and Yelp, and I want everyone's goal to be, just basically make it a non-issue.
Right.
Make Google and Yelp completely irrelevant.
How?
Basically, every response you put on there for a 1-star or negative review is exactly the same. Make every single response exactly the same. Don't give them any drama to read or review because people love drama. Oh, they were scathing review, 1-star review on Yelp. And you go in there and say, I'm sorry, it didn't work out, blah, blah, blah. Another 1-star review, I'm sorry, it didn't work out, blah, blah, blah. Just basically make them exactly the same. So when owners start reading those, they're like, Steve is just saying the same thing for every 1-star review. I'm bored, I'm going to go do something else. You see? So you make the platform completely irrelevant.
Has that been working?
I believe it's going to work. I believe people are going to start reading Google and Yelp reviews that are 1-stars from tenants, and it says, we're sorry we had to do this. I'm talking copy and paste. You know what I mean? Every single negative review response, copy and paste.
It's funny. Everyone has a different take. There's a guy in San Diego. I think it's called the Downtown Condo Showroom. Everyone has to check this guy out on Yelp. It's hilarious. His response to 1-star reviews are like the funniest. He must be a writer for like a sitcom. It's like, he always he's like, this review reminds me of, and he quotes some movie in like the 70s or something. It's so great. But you got people all over the place that, say never respond, and be truthful. That's the first I've heard just kind of toe the line. So.
Just copy and paste.
Yeah.
Give them nowhere. Give them nothing to go off. Because once they start reading 1 or 2 of your responses, they'll get bored and go away.
Yeah. And the thing is, you have to talk about reviews and you have to have a strategy because the fact of the matter is people aren't reviewing their property management company on the whole unless they're like a Yelper and they're getting paid or they're, you know what I mean? You have to start the conversation. Restaurants where the ideas came from generally, I think, are great. Hairstylists, maybe bars, things like that. But, we've got to have some strategies.
Because what Yelp wants, for example, is they want drama. They want the drama because drama keeps you on their site. Yeah. Keeps people reading the drama and builds their SEO.
Yeah.
So by you giving them a 3-page snarky, mean response, it's basically giving Yelp what they want.
Right.
People are gonna go in there, read it. Oh my God, Steve said these things. Wow, that's a neat little phrase. I like that. Basically, you're keeping them on their site for no good reason. Right. Yelp is the scourge of review sites out there. And so if you can just neutralize anything that they have on you, It's going to basically make them to the point where people stop looking at it.
Yeah, that could work. I never thought about that. That's an interesting point. Social media, buying or selling?
Totally buying on that one. Social media is great. We're figuring out more ways all the time to enhance our presence there.
Yeah.
And you have to focus it potentially on a niche group that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, we really, really want more realtor referrals.
Right.
So how do we get that?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Facebook marketing, a lot of social media, a lot of in-person events to build up the realtor referral network.
Okay.
Because I think that's the blue ocean, as they say,
Right.
for getting new business, is getting those realtors bought into your company.
Let's talk about that real quick. I know you got the 555 program that you're running Facebook ads with.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the other in-person, the events. What else are you doing?
So from that last PM Grow conference we picked up, who was a gentleman that came out of, was it Houston? I can't remember where he came out of. But anyway, the point of his thing, it was the Mike Meyer guy.
Oh yeah, Mike Meyer.
Yeah.
Right.
So what he came up with was more realtor networking events.
Mm-hmm.
And it just hit me like an epiphany. Like, geez, we have a hit list of 85 or 100 paid referrals already.
Yeah.
So we went back to our paid referral realtors list and started to send them out invites to a luncheon.
Mm-hmm.
And so the luncheon might be 20 folks. Who cares, right? Pick one a month and do a luncheon. So I tasked the business development team. They're doing one luncheon a month. And they're going to invite, let's say 100 realtors.
Right.
You get 50 to RSVP, and 25 of them will show up because they're realtors.
Yeah.
They're the flakiest animal on the face of the earth, right? Real estate agents.
Right.
I was one for 10 years.
Right.
They will commit, and I say air quotes, you can't see them. They'll commit to a time, but as soon as somebody calls and says, I want to see a house, they will forget their children at school, right, to go show a house.
Right.
So
do or die.
Heck with your little realtor luncheon where I get a free lunch. And I would just say, make it a free lunch. Don't do a speech. Don't have an agenda. Just network. Just say, thanks for being a part of our group. Give them a freebie, 30 minutes, an hour-long lunch, and then get them on their way. Then do that every month. Make it consistent. Pick a third Wednesday of every month for whatever reason, or third Thursday, whatever. And start to build that on social media, right? You got pictures. You got video of the events.
Yeah.
Sorry you couldn't make it. It was a great event. We had a quick luncheon. Everybody had a good time, and that's it. So also address the fears of the realtors. The realtor's biggest fear in giving you business is not ever getting it back.
Right.
That's their biggest fear. They don't want to give you a piece of gold and never get it back. So we make a client return guarantee, and then we hammer it all the time. Like, this is what we do. This is how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you give me the business. Yeah, I pay you a little tidbit of $555.
Right.
But we guarantee to return that client back to you.
What do you think about Michael Meyer's take on don't pay referral fees?
I don't think it's going to work. I don't disagree. I disagree. I totally disagree.
But don't you come across a lot of agents that are like, wouldn't you say the majority are like, oh, you pay a referral fee? That's cool. Yeah. Well, I guess 555 is pretty good. But like, if you're giving 200, like most people, 300 people are like, I guess there's a tipping point.
Because of the 555, we see agents commit the cardinal sin of giving us a referral when inside their own company there's a property management division. Isn't that the cardinal sin?
Yeah.
Coldwell Banker does it all the time in our market.
Yeah.
Coldwell Banker agents refer property management to us because we pay a 555. You know what they pay? They pay like 20% of something of something of something.
Yeah.
Where it's a formula not even Einstein can figure out.
Right.
And when they get a check for $163.47, they're like, that was a waste of time.
Right.
And they're going to poach.
Right.
Someone's going to poach. And so, yeah, I don't believe in not paying. That concept of never paying a referral is hokey. Has he ever done it in person?
Yeah.
Has he ever been, you and me?
Right. Well, he hasn't
sat in our shoes?
Right. No. He hasn't tested it in property management. One thing I was thinking, though, was, because I do get a lot of agents who are like, oh, that's nice, but I just want my clients taken care of. So I believe that is a big part of their motivation if they're a good agent. But maybe giving the discount or some of the discount to the client, like make them look like a rock star. Like, hey, we don't give you a bunch of money, but we give that to the client, so you can tell them, hey, we have a preferred relationship with this company. They can give you a discount since you know me.
I like it.
Yeah.
Pitfall is in some states you cannot incentivize like that. Like, we're only supposed to give closing gifts of $50 or less in Texas.
Okay.
So for me to give somebody a free month of management or 2 free months of management might be considered as incentive.
Could be.
And somebody could go run into Texas Real Estate Commission and tattle on them.
Yeah.
So we'd love to do that. I'd love to make that as an incentive for referrals.
Right.
But we can't.
Yeah, and like you were saying, maybe you give them the option.
Yeah, I just thought of this as we were talking about it. So in our form, we have them fill out, realtor, we're going to fill out this form, the 555 referral form. We could make them choose. I'm just having this thought now that we're talking through it. We could make them choose, do you want this referral check to go to you, or do you want us to credit your owner the 555?
Yeah.
And make them choose. And some people, like a brother-in-law, sister-in-law scenario, mom-dad scenario, they'd be like, I don't want the money, just credit my mom.
Yeah, and maybe you send them a gift. You put the realtor's name on it, in care of the realtor. This is a discount, for, not a gift, but like a card, something to really recognize them.
No, get it. Great idea.
That would be powerful.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Especially if it's a new house. It's like, hey, let's do your closing gift for you.
Yeah, because on some of those new homes, they make a killing.
Yeah.
Some of those agents, they make good stuff.
Right. I love that. So what about I know you've been working, are you still working with Phil? The CFO side?
Virtual CFO, Phil Mazer, yes.
Tell me about that, specifically maybe working with Phil, but also just like anything you've gotten out of that, good or bad, as far as having a CFO kind of help run or look at things in your company.
Right, so conceptually what it is a virtual CFO, virtual Chief Financial Officer.
Okay.
And Phil Mazer, virtualcfo.com, or no, I actually think it's the CFOmission.com is his website. Phil's come in and acted as like an oversight person. He's got the experience as a management company. He's got the processes experience to really come in and look at us on a very cheap scale to say, you need to do this, and this. Let's look at your monthly numbers. Let's look at your quarterly numbers. More importantly, you set up the processes for us to ensure our financials are correct, meaning that there's checks and balances. Right. So somebody's signing, somebody's paying. There's checks and balances for everything. Then somebody else is reconciling. It ties back into the NARPM accounting standards that came out, the checks and balances for all your financials. But you're getting the high-level oversight along with the process development. So he's going to come in and develop the process of how a rent check comes in, it goes to here, it gets credited here, it goes to there, it goes to the bank, it gets reconciled.
Right.
That process.
Got it.
So he's building that for your company, and then he's having monthly calls with the owner to go through what's been going on with the company, kind of where some tweaks could be, where some concerns are. I think it's really valuable to have because what's your alternative?
Right.
I mean, you and I can't afford a $100,000 CFO.
Right.
I mean, there's not enough margin in our business.
Right.
So this is a great alternative to get that high-level CFO level experience to come into your business and take a look. That's my 2 cents.
Do they do the reconciling too, or
they create the process for the reconciling?
Got it.
And he can do it. Or he has the team to do that. But he's more importantly concerned about making the process of the reconciliations work.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the procedural work that is above me. One thing I think I'm good at is marketing and biz dev and all that, but I'm horrible at accounting. I wanted the accounting standards built, NARPM accounting standards, because I need it myself.
Right.
5 years ago, we had to create our own GL codes. We had to create our own chart of accounts from scratch because there was nothing out there. Now with the NARPM accounting standard being formalized, people can go get that, put it into your system, and then run with it.
Right.
So it's going to be great as you start to see that being adopted more and more.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to ask one last question before we jump over to podcast number 2 for series number 2 of this interview. You've been known as the implementation king, the implementer. You've seen good results. I've admired you for that. What's the strategy there? Like, how do you stay focused? Do you stay focused on one thing, or do you always have lots of plates spinning, or like, how do you approach your day and what you're tackling this week, month, year?
Well, definitely develop a goal list, and this is something everybody should do, and look at it every quarter. And you've heard the term rocks. Okay, I'm starting to adopt more of the EOS model, but essentially you have to identify what you want to do, when you want to do it, and get it done. I mean, I could reach through the microphone and choke you and say, get it done, but you have to, the fire's got to come from within. You got to go get it done yourself. So there's a quadrant method. You might have heard of this or seen this, to where you have your high priorities, high pay ones that you're doing first, and your low priority, low pay ones you're doing last. That 4 methods of a quadrant could be a very valuable tool in I guess, creating a batting order for what you want to implement. And there's nothing wrong with saying, we're going to implement that 2 quarters from now. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Just stick to it. Yeah. Because think of all the cool stuff that's out there between Filter Easy and tenant liability insurance and resident benefits packages and all these little add-ons that are coming around that are pretty much standard fare. Those things you have to implement, because if you're not, relying on just management fees makes you very, very thin, very lean. It doesn't give you enough profit to hire a good team to provide a good service, right? It's all cascading if you don't have the revenue. You got to generate the revenue. So the presentation I'm giving at Pulling Back the Curtain in August, that's going to be all about revenue maximization.
Mm-hmm.
You want to call it fee max, go ahead. But I'm going to give all the different ways that you can generate revenue. And it can be done in different levels, in different ways, and then you have to pick what's right for your business.
Mm-hmm.
It's the mindset thing that people have to get over too.
Right.
Oh, I can't generate more fees. My owners will, they're going to revolt and they're going to hang me in the street. No, they're not going to do that. It's just like the credit card.
Yeah.
When you get a notice from your credit card company that says your interest rate's going from 0.5 to 0.7, you're like, whatever, throw it away.
Right.
Okay, you might be mad, but what can you do about it?
Right.
And for the 5% of the owners that complain about things like that, they're not the right fit for you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get rid of them.
Yeah, and that's where the masterminds can come in handy, where you have people that have actually done it, and people just going to NARP them that can tell you on a regular basis, but actually hold you accountable. Because some of these revenue, even for me, streams, it took me getting pounded on the head with it like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 months before I'm finally like, I'm going to do it. So having people around you that can push you is important. So Brad, we're going to jump to the Tribe Mastermind podcast right now for part 2. Awesome first part with Good Life Property Management Podcast.